Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the second edition of If You Smell what the Arch is Cooking. I'm your host, Archie Mitchell, and starting off here tonight, guys, I just want to thank you for the great response to the first episode last week and the great response that we've had for WrestleNet Radio in the first few weeks. Nate Maxon and I have been talking about it. He said that we are way ahead of schedule as far as people subscribing and everyone interacting. And we just want to thank you guys for what you are doing in helping us get this off the ground. Never easy, and Nate Maxon has done an incredible job. But knowing that we have listeners, followers, and friends who got our back, that much more easier. This week, we're going to do something a little differently. I don't know if you remember me saying it on last week's show that some weeks we do NXT and AEW. Some weeks we may do just NXT. Some weeks we may incorporate a documentary. You never know what we're going to do. Well, this week we need a palate cleanser after the debauchery that was AEW's Blood and Guts and that horrible ending that we had of Chris Jericho laying on cardboard. So I'm not going to be reviewing AEW this week. We will be starting off with a review on NXT this week. Another great show. And go ahead, I have to tell you to start off. NXT once again opens with another great promo package, recapping what happened last week and over the last couple of weeks on this show between Kushida and Escobar, between Raquel Diaz and Mercedes Martinez, Karrion Kross and Finn Balor, and the rest of the world title contender wrestlers. And I'm interested to see what's going to happen between Austin Theory, Johnny Gargano, and Karrion Kross. And wouldn't you know it, that's our opening match tonight. And it was great, in my opinion. For 9 minutes, Austin Theory got in a lot of incredible offense. And his reaction to Kross's entrance was priceless. I'm surprised that they allowed him to get so much in on Kross and actually allowed him to show up in this matchup. I thought it was going to be a squash, but it was not. Kross did, however, get the win in 9 minutes after just totally and utterly being brutal to this young man, Austin Theory. And he finishes the match. He's celebrating, and Finn Balor pops into the ring to let Kross know that he'd like his title back. Karrion Kross lets the Prince know that no problem. I want it too. So we are now on a collision course for the rematch between Finn Balor and Karrion Kross for the NXT World Heavyweight title. We then see a little bit of a promo package that shows Kushida and Raquel Diaz showing up to the entrance of the arena earlier today. And then we see Leo Ruff asking if he can have a match later on this evening, which William Regal tells him that he's not cleared for, despite Leo telling him that he's cleared and he's, ready to go. Ruff just can't seem to get by Regal. And I have to say that William Regal has the same brutality and intensity that he had when he was in WCW. I miss that guy in the ring. We then go to Breezango versus MSK. Great tag team match, hard fought battle between two good teams. Breezango was never anything that big to me. They were always a comedy tag team, but they've grown on me now. And I'm happy to say that they and MSK put on a 13-minute classic. MSK continues their great push as the NXT Tag Team Champions. And it's really incredible to see WWE give these younger stars a chance to shine on Tuesday nights. Because when you look at Raw and SmackDown, you just don't see it anymore. You just don't see new guys popping up and getting the right push. But that's just my opinion. We're getting another NXT in your house, and I can't wait. Todd Pettengill will apparently be the host, which is probably going to be funny as hell. The last NXT in your house was amazing. Seeing Io Shirai come off the roof was unbelievable. And I just think that it's a great show for NXT TakeOver to do, in my opinion. Pete Dunne is then out, and he's cutting a promo. and he makes an open challenge to the locker room, which is then answered by Leon Ruff, who wanted a match anyway. He gets in the ring, he gives Dunn a little bit of a tussle, and then Dunn slaughters him. It was a squash match, which I don't even think lasted 2 minutes. Dunn gets the win to prove that he is a badass on the wounded and smaller Ruff, and then goes on to break Leon's finger. Poor Leon, bad night for him. We then get Pablo Escobar. We get Escobar, the former cruiserweight champion, cutting a promo about wanting back his cruiserweight title, and Raquel Diaz is ready to defend her women's championship against Mercedes Martinez. Also, apparently, in 2 weeks, Frankie Monet will be debuting in the ring. If you don't know who Frankie is, she is the former Taya Valkyrie, the wife of John Morrison, Johnny Drip Drip. She is an incredible wrestler all over the world. She's wrestled in Japan and Mexico in Impact Wrestling and is now finally coming to the rings of WWE. I hope they allow her to be herself in the ring and not this currently legally blonde type of character that she's been playing outside of the ring. Um, and then I thought that we'd be getting Karrion Kross and Finn Balor at NXT TakeOver, and it being in your house, I thought they'd give them a match there. But apparently, that will be happening in 2 weeks on a regular episode of NXT. But I guess NXT delivering great product every week, it's not really just another episode. This is going to be a big thing, and they're promoting it 2 weeks ahead of schedule. So we then go to the ring, and it's Mercedes Martinez versus Raquel Diaz in our first title match of the evening. There will be two. These two women actually got my attention. Let me tell you that, folks. Bell rang, and they just started trading powerhouse spots and shots in this one. It's everything you want from two monstrous women in the ring, in my opinion. For 15 minutes, they kicked each other's butts. And I wasn't looking forward to this match or this feud, but now I am. And having watched them go through hell with each other tonight, it was worth the wait. It was worth wanting to see now. And I hope they continue on the feud because I think Mercedes Martinez actually has a lot to offer in an NXT ring. I'm kind of happy that she didn't stay on the main roster. In other, swaying away from that a little bit, does anybody else get an HBK Diesel vibe from Dakota Kai and Raquel Diaz? Just the way that Dakota Kai is the small little puppy with a big bark and always has Raquel watching her back, sort of the way Shawn used to do with Diesel in the early days. Isaiah Swerve Scott then shows up, and he's got his Creator Wrestling crew with him. We come back to the Way, taking out Bronson Reed backstage. Totally decimating this big guy, which is weird to see considering how Bronson Reed has manhandled Johnny Gargano and Austin Theory in the past. Swerve's making his way out to the stage, and there's his Creator crew. And apparently, they're out to cut the worst promo I've ever seen. It was stereotypical at its finest. Imagine Crime Time, but amplified by 5. This was not good, in my opinion. Isaiah Swerve Scott, who used to be known as Killshot in Lucha Underground and was a tremendous athlete all over the world, is now regulated to just being the guy in the company. And they've given him these 3 people that no one's seen before, except for Ashanti Adonis, who didn't really have a great showing when he was here before. They're cutting bad promos, things that you would, I guess, see someone cut in the Performance Center during like a tryout is what they're doing in the ring right now, and just bad all around. I just did not like it one bit. This gets followed up by another Cameron Grimes $1 Million Man vignette. Cameron is bidding on a house. The guy behind him, who we don't see in the beginning of the vignette, is outbidding him. Finally, the bid gets to $20 million. Cameron's out. The auctioneer says, sold to the man in the back with deep pockets. Cameron's like, who would bid $20 million on a house? Turns around. There's Ted. Shits and giggles the whole way. Cameron tries to challenge him to a match right then and there. DiBiase lets him know that he is no $1 Million Man. Everybody's got a price. These have been absolutely gold. I hope they continue, and I kind of hope that maybe Million Dollar Man does a pop in every now and then, or maybe starts um, managing Cameron. I don't know. I just think that these two have great chemistry and deserve to still be together. And then we get a little promo for Zoe Stark versus Tony Storm, which will be next week. I think these two women have a future together when it comes to wrestling. I think that Zoe Stark has been pushed a little too quickly to being in there with some high end superstars. I think Tony Storm should be fighting for the title and not against a newcomer. But if it helps them both grow and get to the title, I guess all power to them. And then we get Oni Lorcan taking on Kyle O'Reilly. And I wish that this match had been given a little bit more time. It was good. It was technically sound. Both guys let in some big shots, including that King Kong knee drop from Kyle to end the match and pin Oni Lorcan. But I don't think 9 minutes is enough to give these guys a chance to shine, especially when Kyle O'Reilly wants to challenge for the World Heavyweight title. Dunn then jumps in the ring. He and Lorcan try to beat down on Kyle. And Bobby Fish is back, ladies and gentlemen. He helps his former partner. And it was great to see Bobby back. But I was very happy to see Kyle say, "Thank you for helping me, Bobby. But I'm off doing my own thing." And Bobby was like, "Yeah, I'm doing my own thing too. But good luck to you." They exchanged some pleasant greetings, and then each went their own way. I love Red Dragon, and I love what Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish have done in the past and have done in NXT. It's time to give Kyle O'Reilly a chance to shine. Time to give Bobby Fish a chance to shine, and just let those guys do their own thing for a little while. If it doesn't work out, you can always put them back together as a tag team. It's happened before to other teams. It can happen here now, but there is no reason to clutter the tag team division by throwing them back together right now. Just my opinion. We then see Bronson Reed laying out a warning. Apparently, next week he will meet North American champion Johnny Gargano in a steel cage so that the Way does not get involved. But I got a strange feeling that the Way will be involved in some way, shape, or form. But you never know. And now it's main event time, and we get Escobar versus Kushida, 2 out of 3 falls for the cruiserweight title. And before this one can even get underway, we've got MSK coming out to neutralize Escobar's friends, get them away from the ring, and make it a one-on-one match. It's good that they did. All 3 falls were phenomenal. Escobar takes the first fall with his incredible future shock Michinoku driver type move. Then Kushida battles back a few minutes later and gets the submission victory, tied up at 1 apiece. These guys were given 30 minutes in this 2 out of 3 falls match, and they did everything they possibly could with it. They went back and forth in the ring. They went back and forth outside of the ring. They went to the top. They went over the top. It was amazing. You do not see chemistry like this anymore in wrestling. It's far and few between when 2 guys can have chemistry like this, and they both do. They both look amazing, and that ending sequence with the top rope hoverboard lock, and Kushida trying to get the submission, and then he finally gets that combination pin on Escobar was absolutely phenomenal. If you did not watch NXT this week yet, and I'm sorry if I spoiled it from you, but this is a review show and it's on a Thursday. So what are you doing waiting until Thursday to watch NXT? But if you have not gotten a chance to see NXT just yet, go ahead, go back and watch what I said. I promise you, you will not be disappointed. I am giving NXT a 4 out of 5 stars this week. I thought it was great. The Swerve Scott was a little dragging in the middle there, and a couple of the backstage promos didn't need to happen. But all in all, wrestling wise, it was sound. Even the squash match with Pete Dunne was phenomenal because that's what Pete Dunne should do to a wounded Leon Ruff is squash him, in my opinion. It was great though. It was absolutely great episode of NXT. And NXT last week was good too. I think that the move to Tuesday nights is giving them the bump in the arm to put on great wrestling as much as they possibly can. So we now move to our next part of the show, and this is the palate cleanser. The documentaries about wrestling lately have been absolutely phenomenal. If you have not checked any of them out, A&E has done Stone Cold Steve Austin, Rowdy Piper, Macho Man Randy Savage, and Booker T so far. I have watched Stone Cold Steve Austin, which was great. I didn't really learn that much new about Austin that I didn't already know, but it was still a great showing. Talking about how he was, his time in WCW, how he made it into the big leagues, how he was making $110 a week to wrestle, so many nights a week, but then got a $75,000 offer in WCW is great. Seeing somebody do great in wrestling that paid their dues, I'm all for it. Um, then there was the Macho Man Randy Savage episode that I watched, and I have to say this almost had me in tears. I didn't know that Randy Savage had that many problems or went through that much in his life. Get to the big stage, hearing that he was in Memphis trying to wage war on Jerry Lawler, and the way they were trying to get a storyline going, and Lawler and his company just wouldn't let it happen was really funny. And finding out that he put cameras in Gorgeous George's house was bizarre. I was like, how did her parents? She lived with her parents and her brother and sister, and nobody noticed that this man walked in and put spy cameras around. It was still a great watch, though. Um, and then the Booker T episode that was this past Sunday night, it was good, but again, I didn't learn anything I didn't already know about Booker T. But it was still fun to watch and see him in GWF and then going to WCW and everything that he's ever done. I have yet to watch the Rowdy Piper one yet. I will soon, though. Uh, but A&E has killed it with their documentary series that they're doing. I cannot wait for more. Um, But then you've got Dark Side of the Ring, which just came back last week, and their first episode was Brian Pillman. I am a huge Brian Pillman fan. I have been since the day he debuted in WCW. The Hollywood Blondes are one of my favorite tag teams. I think that Brian was a great wrestler. I think that he had a great mind for wrestling and he knew how to be calculating. Hearing the story of him getting his release from WCW, the way that he worked Eric Bischoff was unbelievable. Um, Seeing him be a father, taking in children from his new wife, who's they weren't his kids, but he still welcomed them into his family. Finding out he had a daughter that he didn't know about, bringing her into his family. Um, I have to say that they did a phenomenal job on showing us the life and time of Brian Pillman. And Brian is sorely missed because he finally got to the WWF and was with the Hart Foundation and his battles with Stone Cold and Goldust. He was on trend to be an incredible athlete in that company. He would have been a star. I don't know, however, if after the Montreal screw job, if he would have stuck around because of what happened with Brett. Because, of course, Davey and Jim the Anvil Neidhart went with Brett. Only Owen stuck around in WWE. So I don't know if Brian would have stuck around or if he would have had the same kind of time that, Owen did. And then what happened tragically to Owen. But I do know that the tragic ending to Brian's life was unbelievably sad. I cried the night that he died, and watching it all over again, and it once again made me tear up. Seeing his son, Brian Pillman Jr., who I've seen on the independent scene, who I have seen come up in MLW and now AEW. Brian Pillman Jr. has all the tools in the world, and I wish him well in this business. JR said something at the ending of the episode, and he said, Brian Jr., I hope that you pick up everything that your father ever did in this business for the good. I hope that you have everything that he has when it comes to raw ability and talent and the mind for this business, but stay away from everything that was bad. And I agree with that. Um, Brian Pillman Jr. could very easily be a top star in the next 5 to 10 years. And I hope that I get to see it. And for his father and the legacy of the Pillman name, I really hope that it happens. So documentaries on wrestling have been on fire over the last month. Dark Side of the Ring will be back this week again with a look at Nick Gage, a deathmatch wrestler. Nick Gage has never been in anything that wasn't a deathmatch. Battles with Matt Tremont, battles with David Arquette, of all people, battles all around the world where he just totally and utterly brutalized himself and his opponents. Yes, I'm a Nick Gage fan. Even if you don't know who he is, even if you've never heard of him, watch this episode, and I guarantee you, you will either love or hate Nick Gage. So yeah, if you guys are into documentaries, if you got a couple hours to kill, turn them on and just zone out and watch them for the better, because that's what they are. They're there, like I said, as a palate cleanser in so many ways. Because if you're tired of watching Raw, SmackDown, AEW, NXT, any of the wrestling that's on right now, and by all means, turn on a wrestling documentary on either Vice or A&E and just watch something that you know you're going to like, because there's nothing bad about them in any way, shape, or form. So we now come to our final segment on the show, and I think it's Nate Maxon's favorite segment. It is the rant of the week, or what I like to call what really grinds my gears. And this is going to have to do with not just the WWE, but with AEW as well. Um, Wrestling companies are resting on their laurels again. They're sitting back and allowing a bunch of stupidity to happen in rings that doesn't need to happen and should be stopped before it even takes off. Case in point, last week's Blood and Guts with AEW. The first hour was taped and shown on a giant television during the show. At home, we got to watch it on TV, of course, but the people who paid for their tickets had to sit there and watch television in an arena, and then finally got to watch the last hour for Blood and Guts, the giant War Games cage match, and were treated to Chris Jericho falling onto some cardboard. Now, I don't wish Chris Jericho any harm. I am a Chris Jericho fan. I've met the man. Great guy. And I didn't want to see him fall on his head on a cinder block. No. But AEW has been promising their fans change. They don't deliver. AEW has been promising to be different than the WWE and all other wrestling companies altogether. And the only thing that they've done differently is bring in wrestlers from other companies to do the job that maybe their roster can't. Shame on AEW. If you're going to promise an exploding ring, if you're going to promise a War Games match, if you're going to promise anything just short of a phenomenal or money-making match and not deliver, then that falls on you, not your production crew, Tony. No, it falls on you, because your production crew can only do what they're allowed to do and is within their means. He should have been watching those matches in their entirety, watching them before they unfolded, and made sure that they went off without a hitch. But no harm, no foul, Tony. This is strike two, though, on my part. Strike two. And if it's not taken care of, if AEW doesn't fix these problems, they're going to lose a fan. And I know what you guys are thinking. You're sure I've got a bunch of people who are going to be listening to this and go, well, who the hell are you? They don't care if they miss one fan. You're just one. Well, I'm not the only one who's saying this. I'm not the only one who's upset about this. I wanted AEW to be changed. I wanted AEW to be something different and new. I didn't want it to be a recycled bad time like WCW 2000. The only problem with this time is there's not Vince Russo to blame. So it's time for AEW to finally step up and be what they promised a year and a half ago. And I hope they could do it with Double or Nothing, their next pay-per-view. On the WWE side of things, Vince McMahon needs to step down and just watch the program, watch as it unfolds, And when he has something big to interject, that's fine. But he needs to stop ripping up scripts 30 minutes before they go on air. He needs to stop yelling at his announcers in their earpieces. He needs to stop micromanaging talent and just allow them to go out there and wrestle, because they will always shine if you give them the opportunity. Only entertaining thing on Monday Night Raw right now, in my opinion, is Matt Riddle and Randy Orton as a tag team versus everybody else involved. And here's why: because there's no really exciting tag teams right now. The only exciting thing that was going on Raw before this was The Fiend and Alexa Bliss. And you've killed off The Fiend, and you're slowly making Alexa Bliss an afterthought. On SmackDown, things are a little bit better. You've got Roman Reigns. You're giving Cesaro a push. You're bringing back Jimmy Uso. That's great and well. I have no problem with that. But the rest of SmackDown as a whole is just that. It's an abysmal hole that I don't like. There has been nothing on SmackDown except for Roman Reigns and who he's feuding with that has been anything that great. I mean, do they need to ask The Undertaker to come back just to make it entertaining again? Is that what's going to fix this? Undertaker versus Roman Reigns? Because Daniel Bryan didn't fix it, and neither did Edge. And neither one have now been seen on TV. Well, Daniel Bryan just lost the loser SmackDown match, which is fine. But Edge hasn't been seen since Mania. So I'm just wondering, it's not nostalgia and it's not the actual talent, because they're busting their asses, Vince. It's you. It's you and your writing team. You need to let them finally let these wrestlers do what they do. Go out there and have great matches, cut normal promos from their heart, and actually do something that's worth it. Because again, you're losing a fan in me. You're losing a ton of other fans. The whole Peacock debacle was enough to drive people away as it is, Vince. But you're not doing enough to keep your homegrown fans that have been there with you since the beginning entertained, and you're not doing anything to bring in any new fans. Logan Paul and Bad Bunny are not going to do it because they're not there full time. Nobody wants to see that. We want to see wrestlers doing their case in point. So I want to thank you guys for once again allowing me to spew out all of my dribble. I want to once again thank you guys for listening to the show last week. I hope that you'll continue to listen in the coming weeks. I hope that you will continue to bring new members to the WrestleNet Radio podcast service. Of course, we're still not on Apple, but that's their fault. They're not getting back to Nate, but it's okay. We'll be on Apple when we're ready to be on Apple. Check out the We Can't Wrestle podcast. Check on Maximum Gold with Nate and David Gold, because they are phenomenal. And just continue to be a positive upbringing for this community, because we need you guys. We can't do it without you. That is going to do it for this week. And I will see you all next week, when we might switch it up again. Maybe NXT and AEW again. It may just be AEW and something else to talk about. But I do promise there will be more ranting and there will be more reviewing. I will see you next time on If You Smell what the Arch is Cooking.